The big news of the week in the NWSL was obvious. The moment that Alex Morgan said she would be retiring on Sunday, there were shockwaves around women's soccer worldwide. To try and put in perspective what she means to the U.S. national team, to our sport, is extraordinarily difficult. And yet our prime team did their best to do just that. Stars are aspirational.
Go, Alex Morgan!
They make you fall in love with the game. At the very same moment, they're changing the face of it. Alex Morgan retires this Sunday, achieving both. 2 World Cup titles, Olympic gold, the trophies of a once-in-a-generation star. Don't you remember where you were 123 minutes into the 2012 Olympic semifinal? Or when the ticker tape fell in 2015? Or that celebratory sip of tea in 2019? However, her greatest goals may have been achieved, not scored. Her star helped the NWSL survive perilous early days, serving as the iconic face of the sport, ushering women's soccer into a new era of visibility.
We get our first win of the season in front of our fans tonight.
Her star got brighter with each goal, dazzling with her Golden Boot win 2 years ago. Radiant in the past year as she lifted 2 trophies in San Diego with her young daughter Charlie by her side. But her enduring stardom will be in how she used her platform to create systemic change. An outspoken ally in the sport's darkest moments, a leading voice for equal pay and collectively bargained player rights. She exits the sport a legend. As a kid, Morgan's dreams were once unimaginable.
My name is Alex Morgan, and I'm number 1, and I play left forward.
But she's put them within reach for the next generation.
Charlie came up to me the other day and said that when she grows up, she wants to be a soccer player. It just made me immensely proud, not because I wish for her to become a soccer player when she grows up, but because a pathway exists that even a 4-year-old can see now. We're changing lives, and the impact we have on the next generation is irreversible.
And fans around the NWSL will be thanking Alex and an entire generation of players for the impact they've made. We'll see her one more time here on Prime on Sunday night when they take on North Carolina in San Diego. Mike Watts, Leanne Sanderson, the England international, Kaylee Watt, who played alongside Alex Morgan, the U.S. national team. Kaylee, I want to start with you from a domestic perspective. You sort of grew up and came of age at the same time Alex Morgan was finding her footing within the national team. Try and describe her impact.
Yeah, I remember I was in high school when Alex first got called into the national team, and she was everything I wanted to be. She was just such a superstar for us young girls, and I remember when I first got called into the national team and got to play alongside with her, she was so kind. She was this big superstar, but she helped me, she mentored me, and I remember in the early days of the NWSL, every team she visited and played at sold out. People everywhere. It was just, she was a global phenomenon, and she still is.
Piggyback off of what Kalia just said, teams used to sell out. I've never known them to market a player that's coming as the away player. When I played for the Portland Thorns, Sky Blue at the time were promoting Alex Morgan was coming to town, and it was sold out every single game. And I think people can underestimate the impact that she's made globally. Everybody in England talks about her. She came over to Tottenham Hotspur and made those amazing changes where they train at the training ground now based upon Alex Morgan. Being that person to be the first to take the brunt of all of the stuff going on and just not caring what everybody else thinks about it.
Yeah, and Kaylee, try and describe her impact from an NWSL PA perspective, because you were deeply involved with that when you were playing with the Dash.
Yes, when I played, I was an NWSLPA rep, a player rep, and when she joined, when the national team joined our Players Association, I remember her on those calls fighting for everyone, fighting for rookies, better housing, more protection for the players, and none of those things impacted her. None of those things affected her, and I think that just speaks to the legacy she's going to leave behind. Is as much as she's done on the field, she's done that much off the field, and I thank her. I was so emotional when I saw this news, and thank you, Alex, for everything you did for me in this game.
Yeah, and Leanne, I think there's been a dark cloud over this league in recent years that's largely passed in part because of the impact that Alex Morgan made in making the Yates report possible, much less the player safety guidelines that exist now.
Yeah, I remember when Sinead Farrelly called me and she just said Alex is taking the responsibility on to get our story being told, her and Mona Shim. And I think if it wasn't for players like Alex stepping up in those moments, I don't think we would have really been. She recognises the platform she has. And I always say it, Mike, I think it's quite difficult being Alex Morgan because every single time we would go to an airport, she was like a rock star. I said it was a modern day Justin Bieber, Michael Jackson. Everybody was there to see her. I was like, we used to have this running joke. I was like, how do they even know you're here? And everybody would be there for Alex. So having that responsibility for every single time, she can't sign 25,000 signatures, but she tries. And I loved being her teammate. It was only a short period of time. We were partners in training with the Orlando Pride. You know, we scored in the games together. And I think the one thing we always had was respect for each other and our craft.
You know, I kind of wonder what you were thinking when you were watching Alex Morgan at this Orlando press conference. You had a chance to play with her at multiple stops. You know, I feel like it'd be really easy this week to almost feel like it's the end of something and that there's an inherent sadness to that. And perhaps that's true. And yet we should be celebrating. So maybe there's a story that sticks out in your mind that maybe exemplifies your relationship to her relationship to the game.
Yeah, I mean, I always used to say, it was funny in that press conference because I scored one of the best goals I've ever scored and I tweeted about it and no one cared. All the journalists wanted to speak to Alex and I was like, we laughed about it after. And you know, every time we went to a destination, wherever it was, there'd always be fans there waiting for her. I remember there was times we'd be at the escalator and I'm like, Alex, they're here. And she was like, okay. And I was like, do you want me to be your security guard? And she was like, no, it's fine. So the fans loved her and they love her and I think we should celebrate Alex Morgan. I think everybody, the figures on the game on Sunday is going to be incredible, Mike. And I think, you know, look at this, look at these pictures. We're going to miss Alex and I think we all will, the game will. And I said it before, true testimony of a player is when you leave the game better than you found it. And she has done that 100 times over.
Yeah, she's done that. And for what it's worth, my first game when I was 23 covering the national team, Alex Morgan walked off. That was my first shot at ESPN, and I get this walk-off at the She Believes Cup with France, and she's given all of us moments like that so many times. My favorite stat, at no point did she score for the national team that the national team actually lost the game. Unbelievable.